Alright guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Daniel, and I'm driving down the road, so pardon my eye contact. So I just want to talk about when life doesn't quite go the way you want it to go. Probably boils down to being organized and this and that. But I'm gonna tell you, when you have children, when you have kids, life does become a percentage more challenging, which makes things interesting. So let me just talk about my morning so far. And it kind of bleeds into last night. So at the beginning of the school year, when I drive a school bus, let me back up. I drive a school bus. I was handed a stack of papers for filling in the times that I've driven my school bus, and I had to hold on to them so I could turn in and get paid. Anyway, I misplaced the entire stack, and I spent an hour and a half last night looking for this paperwork. I did not leave a stone unturned, right? And so I'm like, I'm gonna have to ask my supervisor to print off some new ones, and that's gonna be pretty embarrassing. You know, like, he's gonna have to do extra work. This didn't have to happen if I was more organized and stuff like that. So anyway, this morning I sent him a text, about as soon as I could reasonably do, asking him if he could print off some new pay stubs for me. And, I apologized in the text message, tried to make a little joke like the dog ate my homework or whatever. Anyway, it was pretty embarrassing. He said, he could do that. Anyway, then I'm like, you know what, let me just go check the garage one last time. And I went into the garage, I looked into a 5-gallon bucket, and sitting in a 5-gallon bucket with some other junk was my paperwork. I have no idea how it got there. No idea. It was the weirdest location on earth, because all I could remember is it was in my bus and it was on the kitchen table 2 weeks ago. But somehow it migrated into my garage, into a 5-gallon bucket with other junk. And I spent it, and I was up until like 11:30 looking for this stuff last night. And my wife was helping me, and it was a thing. Anyway, fast forward, I told him I found it, great. I gave my wife the paperwork to hand in, awesome. But my kids started fighting about a sweatshirt. These are my twin boys, they're 11. Like, they got the hormones starting to come into play. They have identity crisis, figuring out who they are and everything. But they're particularly drawn to this Under Armour blue sweatshirt. And one of my sons had it, the other one wanted it. They couldn't figure out how to work it out. I said, hey, let's play paper, rock, scissors. But no, it was an absolute struggle. I mean, one boy was willing to play paper, rock, scissors. The other one wanted to have visceral yelling. We try to teach our kids, like, yelling's not the answer, violence isn't the answer, we gotta talk it out, we gotta work it out. But anyway, one of the boys was like, let me yell viscerally about how much I'm supposed to have this sweatshirt. That was 20 minutes of the morning, beyond my whole issue of having the paperwork and stuff. Anyway, I finally, like 2 minutes before I had to get everybody on the bus, I finally got them to the point where they were calm, and they gave each other a handshake or something, said they were sorry begrudgingly, and then they started playing the paper, rock, scissors. It was a very exciting game of paper, rock, scissors. I mean, it was best 2 out of 3. And it was like, it came down to the wire. Like one boy won a game, the other boy won a game. And then after that, there was a couple of situations where they were tied. I mean, like 4 times in a row. And the boy who was having the big tantrum ended up winning. And the result of winning was you get it for 2 days this week, and then the other boy gets it for 3 days this week, the one that loses, right? And that seems pretty fair. It's like, the guy who loses, really, does he lose, or is it delayed gratification? Anyway, got all that figured out. I was a couple minutes late to my normal start time, so I'm running down the road. I'm exhausted. My wife wanted me to go to the grocery store. I'm thinking, man, all I want to do is go home and take a nap after my morning. Anyway, my route went pretty well, but I left my cell phone at home, and I got a text from a parent saying my child will not be riding, 4 days this week, but I couldn't remember what day it was. So I pulled up to their house, the light was on, but then I'm like, I don't want them to come wave me off after I've already acknowledged their text message. And I couldn't verify, and my morning was so hectic, my brain definitely wasn't going to remember the text message I read 12 hours earlier, after the whole kerfluffle. So anyway, I awkwardly had my lights on, but then I just kind of drove past. So I'm hoping I didn't mistake the fact that maybe they didn't want me to pick them up, because I just kind of awkwardly had my lights on to pick them up, but then I drove past. I'm like, oh gosh, hope this wasn't the morning he was supposed to get picked up. Anyway, continued on with my route. Everything was great. Then my daughter was like switching seats, and there's this stop when I just come into town, and it's on a curve, so the visibility's pretty bad. But I ended up driving past this one stop. I knew I was supposed to stop there, but my speed was off. I didn't want to hit the brakes to make the turn into the driveway. So, I had to drive a half mile out of the way to make a U-turn to get back. Then I got back to his house, and the dad was on the porch waving me off. And I'm wondering, is he sick, or did he see me drive past and now doesn't trust me to take his kid to school? That remains to be seen. Hopefully he was sick, even though I don't wish anybody was sick. But anyway, rest of the route in the morning went great, but it was just like, oh my gosh, what a wild just last 12 hours of just like things not particularly going easily. And they're all simple things and I can laugh at them, but it's like sometimes things just happen and they're out of your control. Is it because I have kids? Is it because I have early onset dementia? I don't know. But I do know that I can self-destruct if I wanted to, let it ruin the rest of my day, or I can frame my mind and my thinking process in a positive way and look at everything that happened in a positive way. Number one, I'm going to keep better track of my paperwork so I don't have to embarrassingly text my boss. So I should be set for the rest of the year. I managed my children's behavior this morning without losing my cool, so that was a positive. And it certainly didn't go as planned. I could have easily put the sweatshirt in timeout and not given them the opportunity to play that game because the behavior was outrageous. He was like, screaming. I could have consequenced that, but I gotta think, do I want him to have a consequence to start his day off? I mean, I think I could have gone either way there. Or do I want him to learn that, hey, we don't scream and yell. We need to figure out civil ways to figure out disagreements. I mean, anyway. So what I'm trying to say is, how does this tie into Sweet Berry World, Sweet Berry Farm? It's mostly just letting you know my philosophy on life. And to let you know that I understand life can get challenging and difficult and hard, but you gotta dig really deep at times to keep an even keel and to be positive. It's just, sometimes it can be pretty hard, and sometimes it's out of your control, you know, especially if you have kids. It's like, you know, no matter how hard you try, they're still learning and growing. And anyway, and you know what? The day is still young. It is only 8:20 a.m. It is only 8:20 a.m. So, you know, I'm gonna go to the store, pick up my wife's list of items, go home, try to make the best 5 hours to myself that I can, try to improve on the channel, try to maybe do something around the farm to get ready for next year. You know, maybe learn a new skill on YouTube or something. You know. But for anybody else going through a tough stretch, I understand, I empathize, but you still have a lot of power over where that tough stretch leads you. Does it make you better, or does it make you worse? Or does it make you worse and then you pull yourself out of it and you become better? So many options, so little time. But that's my little spiel. I hope this finds you in a good place, and if it doesn't, hopefully it encourages you to move forward and you know, don't spoil your entire day or your entire life by getting into a pattern where, you know, you become a negative person because things just don't seem to go your way and it's so stressful at times. Just it's all about framing your mind. And then I know in the moment when the fire is happening and your kids are out of control, it's like, ooh, somebody hold me back. But if you can just, you know, remember that you'll make it through, maybe that'll help hold you back. You got to keep your emotions in check so you don't make a situation worse or make your kid feel worse. I mean, my kids that were struggling are like 11 years old. Oh, I didn't even mention, my 4-year-old daughter wanted her backpack with her lunch in it on the school bus, but I don't want her shuffling through her lunch when we're sitting on the bus at 6 in the morning. So I switched it up on her this morning by putting her backpack with her lunch in the car that I was going to switch out with my wife when I was finished with my bus route. So she was having a struggle. So I'm telling you, it was wild. It was very wild for a while there. But I digress. You know, you'll make it through these tough moments, and then do it with grace and dignity. And you might, you know, have the cortisol and the stress hormones pumping in your body while all of this is happening. You're probably gonna break out in 50 different locations. Like me, I mean, my body takes stress and it like does things that I do not want it to do, and it almost causes more stress because I'll get like breakouts and stuff sometimes. It's out of my hands, right? Like, I didn't make my body. I'm sure there's a perfect thing I could do to make sure that my body doesn't produce stress, but you don't want to add to it, that's for sure, in those moments. So, anyway, until next time, berries are sweet, but life, even in the heat of the battle, is still sweet, and you can still take things away from moments that drive you crazy. We'll see you on the next one, and I'm sorry about the lack of eye contact. My apologies. But, you know, it had to be said. It had to be. So we'll see you on the next one. Peace.